Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Season 3 of the Rule 34 podcast. I'm your host, Jack, joined by my fellow co-hosts.
Dominic Castillo.
Alright. How are you, Dom? It's been a week.
It's been pretty slow. Nothing much has been occurring as of lately. Aside from the event that we'll be talking about, nothing much has been pretty going on. I was able to finally fully print out an anime figure, like from start to finish without, any failure. So, but that it took like 8 hours. So,
Dang.
So, that's like, a first for me. But,
Wait, so
but
do you
yeah,
have a 3D printer?
I do. I printed, what was it? What's his name? A Lego sheet from, the anime Beastars, which is like a 3D, furry type anime, but it's a really good anime. But, regardless of the fact that it's a furry anime, it's a good anime. It took 8.5 hours around there, but it fully finished. It's fully completed. All I gotta do is just paint it, and see how that goes. But it's 100%.
Interesting. I've never heard about this purchase. I'm surprised you never brought it up. I think you brought up once you were thinking of buying the 3D printer, but you never actually told the story of buying.
Yeah, it was a pretty cheap purchase. I'm not gonna lie. It was like 120, and then there's like a washing and cure station, I think it's called, for like just $50. It was on pretty steep discount, so I went for it. I got it. Here I am, and it's not too shabby. Not too shabby. It's like 8 inches tall, including without the base as well.
I'm surprised you were able to get a 3D printer for that cheap.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. I'm seeing printers. Usually they cost around like the 200, 300, but I got mine from Amazon, and it was it was not like it was like used, acceptable. You know those sort of like Amazon deals that you get.
Yeah.
But it seemed perfectly like fine when it arrived. It was like perfectly packaged, as if it was never used. But on the description, it said it was like used, and like somewhat good. But it worked perfectly fine. I was able to print a whole, figure. And who knows, I might make a small business out of this. But I kind of need the space for it as well. But yeah, that's the dealio. I can, at this point on, make anime figures without having to pay for said anime figures, if you catch my drift.
But then you technically have to pay for the material to make it and the paint to actually make it look like a figure. But
True.
Who knows? Maybe that all might still look cheaper, or like might as a total come cheaper than actual anime figures.
Yeah, I mean, we can't forget the figures themselves, especially from Bam Presto and Pop Up Parade and all those. They're increasing the prices lately. It's not good.
Yeah, I know. It's real interesting that more and more figures are seeing a raise in price, and I can understand like the really big ones and the really detailed ones, but you get ones that it's just a simple, like the figures simply posed and like standing up, no expression or no pose, and they're like selling it for like $80.
True. I think it's just like the hype around the figure that it really gets, the price increase up and going. But I mean, I guess it is what it is. Have you ever seen that one Gundam model? For those who don't know, Gundam is like Japanese robots and stuff like that, like mech robots. There was this one Gundam model that I think sold for $300,000, or like I think $350,000, only because it was made out of solid gold. A Gundam model out of solid gold. I think that's a little bit outrageous.
That does sound a bit outrageous, especially because if it's actual gold, that thing's gonna weigh like a ton.
Yeah, true.
I actually want to get a look at this solid gold Gundam. 350, you said.
It might be 350, or unless it was a different size model.
I see one that's sold for. Oh, I know. This is some site talking about you can get one For a mere, it says for a mere 240K.
My bad. I was incorrect. My
No,
bad.
these are these different sites.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
This one
Yeah,
for Japan says 20 million yen solid gold Gundam goes on sale at art show. This was back in 2015.
Yeah, it's 20,000. Wait, 2 million. Yeah, that's $20,000 USD.
No, 20 million yen.
Oh no. Okay, no. Yeah, that's 200K. My bad.
Yeah, so. And the fact that people actually buy this stuff, that was actually something that like I wrote down of like, just like a small little topic to talk about is like the whole, how would you say, like this whole rise and like memorabilia of like different things, like Pokemon cards, sports cards, figures, and all that. It's gotten so popular over the years, and especially it's like you're seeing people drop like huge amounts of money. Like, have you seen those people like on social media that like buy what is it, like those like life-size figures, and like they put them together, and it's like, oh yeah, this costed like 3K for this like life-size figure that is just gonna remain like by the doorway as an entrance, like how would you say, like an entrance trophy or something like that, like for people to see when they walk in.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, dang, you're spending that much on it. And also it's like, where would you even put such a thing? Like, you have to have a pretty big house to have that just casually sitting somewhere.
It is a lot. If you had the money, would you buy a life-size figure?
I don't know if I would, because like I don't get what's the point. Because like, I can understand like the regular figures, because like you can have them as like a desk weight, like a trinket on your desk,
Yeah.
or like have them like in your shelves to decorate your shelves. But like a life size one, that's that. Like, I don't know what you would do with it other than just have it like sit in the corner of a room somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. But what I think what also scares me the most is that there's probably a lot of life-size figures that exist that we don't know that exist as of yet because they don't exist to the consumers. Like, I'm pretty sure like a Comic Cat, which is like an anime con sort of a deal. There's been like many behind the scenes going on with like doujin artists and their like specific like famous character OCs being turned into life-size figures. And having the prices, I don't even think they even have prices because they don't want it to have to be sold. But people have estimated these prices can go up into the 100,000s just because of the quality of how it looks, and especially the rarity, and as well as the hype around the OC that they've created. But to think that there are some people willing to pay hundreds of thousands. Or, just, more than they originally would just for, modeled, plastic and resin and epoxy and all that stuff.
Don't forget,
it's scary.
Like I brought up, like the different, like, because it's not just like the anime community, it's also like, this, like I said, Pokemon, like with the Pokemon card game, it's like you have people buying certain Pokemon cards or selling them for like hundreds, thousands even, because of the rarity of it,
Yeah.
They wasn't like Logan Paul one of them that like bought a Pokemon card for like some like million or something like that?
It sounds like, what, 2 million, I think?
I think. You want to know what's the only reason I know this, Dom?
Because that ended up being fake?
No, because Logan Paul wrestled at WrestleMania, and he walked out with the Pokemon card as a chain.
Oh,
he had it around his neck. It's worth over $5 million.
5 million? Oh,
$5 million for a Pokemon card. I couldn't imagine paying that much for a Pokemon card.
Okay, yeah, that does seem a little bit overkill. 5 million. What can justify the price of 5 million? I don't get it. It's the first card ever, maybe. It's mint condition. It was never touched by the original owner. But for that long, 5 million? I don't know. I don't feel like it's just. I mean, with 5 million, like imagine saving a Pokemon card from like your childhood. Just because like in a time capsule, only for it to be worth, $5 million, you could buy a whole house, in the Beverly Hills, maybe. That's crazy, man. It's insane.
I this is like one of those things where it's like I want to see them take like a deep dive into like the minds of people like this that spend like crazy amounts of money on this stuff and like just kind of like figure out why, because I think you and I have talked about it before when we were talking about like like we talked about anime figures before like a long time ago. I think it was during season 1. What's it called? We talked about like, for some people it's like impulse buying in a sense, like they need to get that like they need to get like that sense of joy from like just buying something and having it there, and then like after that it's like the feeling wears off and then they repeat the process. So I wonder if it's something like that, or like it's a thing of like it's collectible and they have like this addiction to collecting and needing to have it all.
Yeah.
And then that in itself is like, well, then what makes that different from like hoarding in a sense? And like you might say, oh, well, hoarding is different because it's like stuff that isn't valuable or has like no value to it. But it's like, I don't know. I would think once you buy the item, much like anything, once you buy it and start like and have possession of it, it slowly starts losing its value over time.
True.
Well, I don't know. I wonder what really goes through the mind of some of these people. Because
No,
go ahead.
No, I mean, I was just thinking it's like maybe just to show off,
Hold on, what happened, Dom? You were cutting in and out.
My bad. Maybe it's just like to show off, or maybe not to show off, but maybe it's just for like their own self pleasure. Like they want more, they like what they see, so they want more, but I don't know. It's they can't get a hold of themselves, especially as you mentioned with the impulse purchases, and they want to get along with the trends, wanting to have everything, and to potentially even sell if they don't enjoy it, or maybe they have other reasons as to why they purchase, like with baseball cards, Pokemon cards, and other such. Maybe it's just to resell them for a profit.
Yeah, there's definitely people
maybe
that, like are in the resale community. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's all I got for the anime figs. Say, do you have any recommendations so I could print you guys any figures? Maybe in the future. Who knows?
I'd have to look. Oh, you know what's one I'd want? Because there's no way you're going to get me to pay the prices of all the ones that are currently out.
Okay, possible.
I need a figure of Kubbi from Nier Automata.
I could definitely do that.
Give
me like 2 days maybe.
All I have is the Nendroid, and I don't know how to work Nendroids.
I mean, is it like a changeable faceplate and the arms and that's it?
Yeah, I know that, but I've like tried to stand it, and like it just never does it properly. Like right now, I'm looking over at it, and it has like how you can put the thing in the back so it stands like you're supposed to.
Yeah.
It's just floating in the air because even though I try and put it standing, it just doesn't work. And then like all the little pieces, like I try and keep the sword in her hand, and the sword's always falling out. So it's like I'd rather just have the actual figure. The only reason I got the Nendroid is because it came into stock, and I was like, "There's no other 2B figures on the market that are for like as cheap as that's gonna be,"
Right, I got you.
But that's definitely one. And then, real quick, Dom.
Yes.
Did you do anything on 4th of July?
I worked. Yeah, I was supposed to go to San Francisco with my family, but I had to work because it was gonna get pretty busy. They couldn't find any other people to cover for my shift, so I had to say, heck it, why not? So I stayed behind. They went off to San Francisco. Dude, my family went to Alcatraz to do Mob of the Dead, man. It was crazy. But yeah, I stayed behind, stayed home. I watched over the cat for the time being because if I were to go, she would have been alone for 2 days. And, I don't want that. But yeah, I worked. How was your 4th of July, Senor Jack?
I honestly don't remember what I did, and that's likely because I didn't do anything.
It do be like that. It do be like that.
Now that you bring it up, though, we should all plan a trip to San Francisco, go to Alcatraz, build the plane, try and escape, crash on the Golden Gate Bridge, and fight off until the end of the round.
Yeah. We need to get the Blunder Gat, make it to the Acid Gat.
Need to do the Golden Spork.
Oh yeah,
Did you ever get the Golden Spork?
Oh my bad, from the... Wait, have you ever gotten the Golden Sport?
I did it once with our friend Diego and his brother and one of their friends, and that thing was overpowered.
Yeah, I never got the Golden Sport. Isn't it like a one-hit melee to like round...
31, till round 31.
Oh, God.
It was crazy, bro. That was one of the craziest... I don't even know if you'd call it a glitch until it was in the game and you can get it. It was crazy, though. It was like just sweeping through the rounds like nothing because you have a weapon that's just one-shot everything. Imagine that, a Golden Spork one-shotting everything. What a game that was.
Did you guys ever complete the entire
Easter egg? No.
Easter egg yet? No?
The only Easter eggs I've ever completed are the Black Ops 3 ones, and that's because they were kind of relatively easier than whatever the previous games had. Or maybe it's just because I was a kid and didn't have the skill and attention span to complete an Easter egg. Versus when I was like in my late teens, finally completing BO3 ones like 3 years after the game had released. The Cold War ones were, I mean, they had like a bunch of steps, but they were relatively easy if you had a full squad.
Yeah. Man. If I was gonna mention one more thing. If you were playing Mom with the Dead, and I'm assuming do you already know how like the ending goes and stuff like that?
It's there's 2 different endings, right? Because it's a whole thing of limbo.
Yeah. Basically, you either break the cycle or you continue the cycle. And I was thinking, would you rather break it or just continue it, just for the heck of it?
I think we tried to break the cycle. Which one was break the cycle again? You kill Weasel, right?
No, I think Weasel kills everyone.
Oh, you're right. I think that is the cycle.
I'm not sure.
He tries to escape on his own and then it fails, right?
Yeah. No. I think to break the cycle, Weasel kills everyone, which leads to the souls of the rest of the 3 to be turned into like allies during, what was it, Black Ops 4?
Oh yeah,
zombies, and they help you.
Yeah, you're right.
If I remember, I might be completely wrong.
Continuing the cycle is when they kill Weasel on the bridge. Yeah. So I think we actually tried to continue the cycle, and then I think we just failed like at the last part.
They do like that.
But that game really holds up well. I really wish we'd get a remaster, at least of the maps.
Agree.
But with that being said, I guess let's transition into our main topic. The reason we are here today, not only because we're opening season 3, but because it was quite the eventful time. Not only planning this, but the event itself. So, of course, what we're talking about is we went to go see the new Thor movie, Thor: Love and Thunder, Thor 4. We went with a group of friends of ours. Kind of planned on late notice, like just randomly, like what, 2 days before, right now?
Yeah.
We went to go see it. The theater was huge. I think that's the biggest theater I've ever been in. I don't know. It had the own theater on its own, then like a balcony up above where we were sitting. It was huge.
It was pretty insane.
So, what were your initial thoughts on the movie, Don?
So, mind you, what happened?
Sorry, hold on. Real quick. What were your expectations heading into the movie first, if any?
Okay, so considering it was a Marvel movie, I expected, a few jokes to be thrown in there at times. Mind you, this is my first ever Thor movie. I've never really go out of my way to watch any movies. I'll be honest. Only because I don't really know why. I'll be honest with you. I guess, loss of interest. But I feel like starting off, it was going to be some jokes because Guardians of the Galaxy and all that stuff from that previous expectations. I definitely knew there was going to be like old school music, old school rock be playing in the background because it's Marvel and we have Thor, and literally that was the first things we hear. I expected, how would you say it? A bit of a more backstory to be played with with Thor, but I'm assuming that was already like concur and established with the other Thor movies. But yeah, that was pretty much my expectation. Jokes, good music. Okay, well, not too many jokes, but like good music and maybe more of establishment of background. Maybe there was been some hidden things that we would have not known. But yeah, maybe also a little bit of like seriousness because at times there are points where the story gets serious, plot point is on point, whatever I'm saying, plot point is serious, and that's all. Yeah.
I feel like, oh, hello, I'm back. I had to do something. Anyways, I feel like I've been thinking about it a lot, and the biggest issue I had with the movie was the way they told the story, because it felt very rushed. Like, in the beginning, we're introduced to the villain. What's his name?
Gore.
Yeah, we're introduced to Gore, and then we cut to Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy, and them, like, splitting apart. And it's just Thor, and then we see Gore again. But no, we don't even see Gore. We just hear that he defeated gods. We don't even see him do it. And then it's Thor, Gore again for 2 minutes when they're fighting in the new Asgard. And then we literally we see Gore again towards the end of the film. So we're not actually really introduced to Thor, not Thor, Gore. And everything else just kind of felt not story-worthy. Because it's Jane, the main focus is Jane and Thor. But nothing really comes of it. She has cancer, and then that's kind of the driving force of her. She does the thing, she becomes the new Thor, and then, I don't know, it just goes towards the ending. And that's it felt rushed. Because there wasn't a good structure to the story, in my opinion.
No, I definitely
agreed.
Especially because I like how Dom brought it up, because Dom, my dad, felt similar, because I think other than a couple other Marvel movies, the only I think two main ones you've seen, Dom, is Guardians, right? Is the Guardians movies?
Guardians and with Endgame and Infinity War.
Yeah, so my dad went into it. My dad doesn't go into Marvel movies with expectations, so the only thing he kind of went in expecting was that it was gonna be, similar to the last Thor movie, which was very much similar in the sense of the production, the humor of it. He knew there were gonna be humor in it while also tying in with the story elements and still having some seriousness to it. And when he walked out, he was like, "Oh, it felt like just watching another Guardians movie because of the humor, the music that was in it." But I definitely get what Gio's saying, because you get introduced to Gore at the very beginning of the movie. It's a straight cold intro in a sense. You don't get the Marvel logo and then the movie starts. You immediately start with the scene of Gore and his daughter dying in the desert. His daughter dies. He finds this oasis where the god that him and his people praised is at. You see him kill that god when he gets the necro sword from the previous user that tried to kill that god. And he kills that god, and so that starts the whole Gore god butcher character. And then Gio said, then from there you go into Thor with the Guardians, and they're fighting on a planet to help this planet and their people. You also get Korg telling the story, Dom, giving like the backstory of Thor from like the previous few movies, like in a short comedic movie.
Yeah.
And then like Gio says, it's like it goes from there to them seeing the distress signals that all these other gods have been butchered by Gore, but you don't see Gore doing it. And one of the ones sees Thor's friend like sending out the distress signal. And so that's why they split, because Thor goes to go help his friend. The Guardians go to solve the other distress calls. And from there, he goes back to New Asgard, where it's already being attacked by Gore. And then that's when you're introduced to the fact that, also in between this, that's where you learn about Jane Foster having cancer and her reading about Mjolnir, like, giving the user great health, which is her reason to go after it. And then it's like, it's only until the battle when he gets there to Asgard and sees that Gore and his monsters are already there, that's when you're introduced to the fact that Jane's mighty Thor. Then what happens? Gore and him fight. Then she helps him fight him off. Then he steals the children and disappears. And I don't know. From there they start planning, and like there's somewhat structure, but they're, like Gio's kind of saying, there's also a sense of lack of structure to the movie.
Agreed.
I feel like whoever edited that movie had... Well, it's kind of like common for like movie editors to have like so much film to use, like so much like B-roll, and then the main story clips. And I feel like whoever edited that movie, the path they chose was not like the best, because obviously they had like a vision of the movie, and then they went to talk to the director or whoever was in charge, and then they agreed that, oh, okay, this is good enough. I feel like if they focused a little bit more on Gore and his story and showed him like killing the gods, that would have like made him a better antagonist to the story. And I don't know, kind of like, because some people might know of the gods that he killed, and then to those people he would have been a little bit more evil or whatever. But instead, towards the end, we're kind of like very like empathetic towards him, because all he wanted to do was bring or get revenge for his daughter, because the gods didn't help him. And I don't know, that didn't really make a good villain for me.
Yeah, I think I brought it up to you, Dom, how like while I enjoyed like the trope, I do wish we'd get more what would you call it? What's the word I'm thinking of? Traditional villains, like in the sense of like, can we get more villains that we don't like sympathize with,
Yeah.
Because like the biggest example I can give is that like apparently like you can tell like somewhat based off the trailer, and then also with another movie or like another like planned character, the Black Adam movie, it's like they're not making him a good guy, but they're making him like, I guess if you want to say like a vigilante instead of like a straight up villain,
Right.
And I understand why, because like you can't do a movie about a villain for the most part without because like I don't know, I don't know, in my mind it would be kind of hard to do like a villain solo movie unless it's like their backstory. But like what it seems like in that movie is like they're making him like a vigilante almost in the sense, instead of like a villain. And then apparently there's also rumors that for the Spider-Man series, like the villain Kraven the Hunter's gonna be like I don't know, like they're gonna like give him like, I forgot what they were saying, but like some type of like backstory that like, again, it's like you kind of sympathize or understand why he's a villain. And I get like you're gonna get that with most villains, like you're always gonna have like this thing of like people are gonna understand why they're a villain, but like I don't know, I just wish we'd get more, like I said, traditional villains, in the sense of like, we straight up just don't like them in the sense,
Right.
Because it seems like nowadays we either get like these villains with like that like just have these backstories that like you feel bad for them for, and you feel sympathetic for them, or you just get these villains that are like, you know, they're too cool for people to hate in a sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think that's necessarily the issue with Gore in this movie, because like Gio said, I mean, the story arc of Gore was fine. My only complaint was I wish we could have seen him kill more like different gods to like fully establish him as the God Butcher, because they only show him on screen kill one god, and then the distress calls show that he killed other gods, but like they're already dead by the time the distress call scene. And when I was talking with my cousin about it, because I went to go see it with my family again on Saturday, I was telling one of my cousins it couldn't have taken long for them to end that distress call scene, even if like it would only add a couple minutes to the movie to just show them playing the distress calls and maybe showing, you know, him killing those gods. Because like the most, like if they didn't even want to do, like if they just wanted to do one more, if he only was on screen shown killing two gods, it should have been on that snowy planet with that giant like dragon looking god. Like to see Gore, who looks like a normal human, like he's human size, take down something like that, that would have definitely, you know, not that he wasn't menacing or believable, but that would have like, you know, amped up the whole God Butcher status. And kind of shown the power of the Necro Blade, because that's another thing. We didn't really see the power of it. All we just told is that, oh yeah, it has the power to kill gods, but like, you know, you don't really see its full extent, I guess you could say. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because the Necro Sword, they definitely missed on that. Because they could have shown it more, or like demonstrated his power, like you were saying. That would have definitely made like his side of the story a little bit more epic, I guess. Instead of just like you hear about it, but you never actually see it.
Yeah. What were some highlights of the movies for you two?
I think, what was it? For some reason, I try to make most of the scene where Jane exposes herself that she has cancer. I wanted to find that funny, but I couldn't find that funny. But I know that was a pretty big scene, trying to like make a joke out of something that's serious. And I think that hit me hard because you can't really joke about cancer, and yet they try to do it here. So I think that was a bit of something. I think a scene that also hit me the most was at the end of the movie, Thor giving to the bunch of kids that they finally released the power of two. What was it? Oh, I forget the name of that one. I think his name was Alex. I think I'm not sure. The kid with the blue shirt.
Axel.
But he gave him the power to hold the hammer, and was it Mjolnir or was it the other one?
Stormbreaker doesn't have the worthy thing tied to it.
Oh, right.
That the only hammer or the only weapon that has that tied to it is Mjolnir. Mjolnir, you have to be worthy to hold it. Stormbreaker, anyone can use it.
Oh, okay, my bad. And then there was also the introduction of the lightning bolt given from Zeus. And I think the scene also where Thor kills Zeus. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty insane. It was a bit. It was a bit weird considering I don't think it would be that easy to kill Zeus. Unless the condition was that you use his own weapon to kill Zeus. But I think that was a bit too much of an easy fight. Just killing Zeus just like that in one, just one fatal blow without him actually like fighting himself. Technically, it felt too quick. It felt too fast. It didn't feel deserved or maybe earned. But it just, I don't know.
If I can play devil's advocate real quick for that scene, I know people are gonna say it's like a cop out, but I think the end credit scene explains why that happened best. Because in the movie, or like they're there, and it's all the gods in this place where all the gods reside and stuff, and they're they're all like talking about partying and they're all relaxed, talking about, oh, they're safe here. Like, in a sense, they've grown content with the fact that they're protected here. There's no harm to them here because they're the only ones that know about it.
Yeah.
And then after that happens, where you think he's killed Zeus, but the post-credit scene shows he's still alive. He's getting tended to, which is a crazy fact that he's still alive. But that can tie into the fact that that's how powerful the gods are, that they survive. But that post-credit scene, I think, perfectly explains it, where he's talking to a character off screen that's later revealed to be his son Hercules. He's talking about we used to be feared, people used to look up to us, they wanted to come to us with their problems, they wanted to come to us for help. Now they look to the skies for their heroes. And he says it himself, when did we become like the joke, when did we become an afterthought? And he's like, enough of this. It's time we kind of become a serious threat again. And that's when, he's talking. That's when they reveal his son Hercules. And that's just probably set up the next movie for Thor going up against Hercules. And so I think that kind of explains why Zeus was such an easy kill, because they were content for all this time. It's not like they were fighting. It's not like they were actually, training and fighting all these different villains like the superheroes were. They were just up in there wherever they reside, content with being safe from all harm, that they weren't he wasn't, I guess you could say, prepared for a battle, especially because, like you said, he's fighting from afar and letting his lightning bolt do all the work. So I think that can be like an explanation as to why Zeus was how would you say? Because he obviously wasn't killed, but taken care of so easily, like in a fight, like defeated so easily, but not necessarily killed.
Right.
I think that can be like your explanation to that. And then, if I had to say, my favorite part of the movie, that was like my main highlight, was the transition into the Shadow Realm. Because I just really liked how they were traveling on the Bifrost and stuff, or like the bridge, and traveling through space, and it's all colorful. And then they reach the Shadow Realm, and you slowly but surely see the color just seeped out of the scene. And when they're fighting Gore in the Shadow Realm, you only get those like flashes and hints of color popping out at certain points. I thought that was a really good scene, especially visually.
Agreed.
Like, I don't know what it was about transitioning to black and white, but I just, like, really liked it. For most movies, I'm like, I wouldn't want to see a whole movie in black and white. The only time I've ever enjoyed a whole movie in black and white was the special edition of Logan, the Wolverine movie. That one was really good in black and white. That's one of those movies where, like, the black and white definitely enhances it.
Interesting.
Any other?
I feel like during that part, the color change, to me, when I was watching it, it felt like a turning point in the movie. Kind of like, how should I say? It's kind of like, you see, like in normal storytelling, there's like the intro and then the rising action and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. It kind of felt like in most movies, you kind of like see it happen, but you don't like consciously like, oh, there's the turning point. But like during that part, it definitely felt like the movie was finally shifting to like a different attitude. Because when did that happen? That happened like an hour and like so minutes into the movie, and it felt like something was finally happening. I don't know. It just kind of like added to the whole effect. Like visually, like you said, it was very impressive and pleasing to see. But like for the whole movie in general, it like added to it as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably the main reason why I didn't enjoy, even though like it was part of like a comedic effect, the whole thing Aldon mentioned of Thor giving his power to the kids to help fight off the shadow monsters. I think that would have been better, well placed. Actually, no, because like you said, that's the transition point, and I don't know why you would have them fight. I don't know. That scene just kind of felt out of place because, like Gio's saying, the moment they crossed over into the Shadow Realm, that felt like a total shift because things started getting like real serious from that point, and a lot of the humor at that point started dialing back in a sense, you know, because like at that point, you know, you have that whole scene where, you know, Gore is like really tormenting them, especially mentally, you know, telling Valkyrie about like, oh, did you pray to the gods when your sisters on the battlefield were dying, when he started talking to Jane about her cancer and stuff, and then like forcing Thor to call Stormbreaker back while he's like slowly choking them out. And then of course you have Valkyrie who gets stabbed. It's like that's a whole shift at that point. It got real serious. And then you have the scenes in the hospital where Thor is talking to Jane about her cancer and her not picking up Mjolnir again because it's gonna drain her life even more and prevent her from fighting back the cancer. It's like that got real serious. And then you get to the point where he has that final battle with Gore, and it's like, I don't know, you include that scene with the children, and like it's a part of comedic effect, but I don't know, maybe it's just like a wrong place, wrong time type of thing. I don't know, like it just kind of felt out of place after that whole mood shift, if y'all get me.
And
I get you.
an interesting point that I want to like tell you guys about is, okay, think about it realistically. Who do you think the target audience was for that movie? Because I think it was for like the children, like it was aimed at children. Because with that scene, it kind of added the whole, oh, you could also be a superhero kind of thing. Like years ago, like what, in the 90s and the 2000s, like people still had that fantasy, or like it was like bigger back then, obviously, because now people don't really focus on that. They're like other things, like children are more focused on video games and stuff like that. But like back then, it kind of played on that fantasy that, oh, you could also be like your superhero. And I think that kind of like, that was the point of that scene. And with more, like, I really hate when children act in anything. Like, I just find it like very cringy. But that scene wasn't like cringy to me. It was like very well done, because it wasn't like this like over the top, like very dramatic, like, oh, this kid has powers and he's like kicking ass or anything. It just kind of felt like it was more like of a montage, and like that made it like not cringy for me. It was well done, and it didn't do much for the story. It was just kind of like an extra fun thing they did, because I feel like that's like the point of this movie, to be like a fun experience and not like story heavy. But I actually kind of did enjoy that part.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily a bad scene. It was just, like I said, kind of out of place because of the whole tonal shift of the movie.
Yeah.
But it was still a pretty good scene. And I think another thing, like I asked y'all about expectations, because I think a lot of people went in with different expectations, which I just kind of didn't get, because of, like, if you've seen the previous Thor movie, you should have known what was coming in this movie, because it's the same director, had the same look to it, you know? But also, I think people, like, you know, there's people with fair criticism, and they, like, people shouldn't immediately chalk it up to, oh, they were expecting all these cameos, like how with No Way Home and Doctor Strange was. Like, no, those movies were hyped up to have expectations, and that's why people had expectations of cameos. This one, no one went in with expectations of, oh, this guy's gonna come out, this guy's coming out. And I think people just kind of went in thinking they were gonna get a more serious movie than they got. But
it's kind of like the other movies kind of like made it that way, because all the Spider-Man movies, the Doctor Strange movies, and like all of the shows that they have, they were more serious, and they had like a certain tone to them. And then when they come to this, kind of like disappointing in a sense, because like in the other movies, like you said, there was a lot of cameos, and like the cast of those movies was like a lot bigger than this one. Like in this one, there was maybe like 6 main people, and then just a bunch of extras. So it kind of like, I don't know, it didn't like live up to like the last movies.
I don't mean to interrupt, but we got 15 seconds. Final ratings?
15 seconds.
I give it a 6 out of...
Yeah, same, like 6.
I give it like a 6.5. Wasn't the best, but wasn't the worst.